Welcome to Currently Adore, a virtual discussion hub for C-drama and C-entertainment fans. Today, I'll be discussing the romance of Tiger and Rose. This review will be spoiler-free, except for the part where I address the ending, but I'll give a heads up when we get there. This drama follows Xiao Chen, a scriptwriter and our female lead. After laboring over her script and falling asleep, she wakes up and finds herself as a character in her own story. Her goal is to return back to the real world, but along the way she runs into obstacles, yada yada yada, you know the drill. I think there are two main things that make this drama work: the cast of characters and the basic premise. A lot of this show hinges on the characters being oblivious like 90% of the time, whether it's for the sake of comedy or just to create some sort of conflict that propels the story forward. So there were many instances where it was just like, wow, everyone shares a collective 3 brain cells. This could, in theory, sound really annoying, but honestly, the drama rarely, if ever, crossed into that super irritating territory for me personally. And I think a lot of the credit for this has to go to the actors. For example, if you look at Chen Chen Chen, on paper she could seem like a potentially frustrating character, but Zhou Lusi was able to portray her as someone who might not always make the best decisions or be the brightest, but is well-meaning, bubbly, and funny. I think her interpretation of this role really helps endear you to the character. Jing Yuxi was great as Han Suo because he was really charismatic and expressive. His subtle little actions in scenes, especially with the female lead, added really nice touches. In regards to the main pairing, I have to admit, while I liked their interactions in the first few episodes, I didn't quite understand the hype at that point. But as I got further along, I started to appreciate them more and more. The best way I can describe their dynamic is comfortable. They had their fair share of idol drama cheesy moments, but even during those scenes, they didn't seem super stiff or like they were just going through the motions. Instead, their interactions felt really natural. Wu Yijia and Liu Suyan playing Zirui and Baiji were also hilarious additions to the supporting cast because they brought to life the perfect comedic duo. And in the end, it's the entertaining and likable characters that carried this whole drama and kept me hooked. Everyone seemed to understand what type of story they were performing, so they just had fun and didn't take themselves too seriously. The other pretty interesting part of this drama is the premise. It was amusing to see the female lead's commentary on her own script and her situation. I especially loved the scenes where she met up with the 3 storytellers and worked out her drama's plot with them using fruit stand-ins. Functionally, these scenes let the audience keep track of what was going on and get a sense of her plans going forward, but also they just led to some really funny moments. Yet more than that, this drama's setup is pretty brilliant because you can always blame the inconsistent or illogical points on the female lead and just chalk it up to her being a bad scriptwriter, rather than the blame falling on the actual scriptwriters. I wouldn't say that this automatically makes the show immune to any criticism, but it can oftentimes be a convenient and relatively believable justification. For example, some criticisms I can think of. Especially towards the latter half, some characters felt flat because they were very one-track minded and constantly said the same things over and over again. I'm looking at you, Pei Heng and Chen Chu. I also think the third act of the story was a bit dragged out and could have been condensed and cut down by at least 3 episodes. In this part especially, the writing just seemed a little rougher around the edges. But in saying all this, I know there's conveniently no way to know for sure if these were deliberate choices made by the writers or if they were just unintentionally executed poorly. I don't know how far this excuse can extend because I have definitely seen some fan interpretations of some aspects of this drama that I personally think are a little bit of a stretch, but I guess it's up to each person to determine how much of these more negative aspects they're willing to believe was a purposeful choice. Now let's move on to the ending. This section is going to be full of spoilers, so I'd skip to the conclusion here if you don't want to be spoiled. Given the nature of stories like this, I wasn't expecting them to explain how/why the leads entered the script. You just kind of have to be fine with accepting that this is the magical, mysterious element in this world. However, I would have appreciated a more coherent explanation of Han Lao's situation. Was he cognizant when he was in the story? Did he make conscious decisions himself? I think the answers to some of these questions were implied, but they weren't really laid out very directly. I understand not wanting to spoon-feed the audience, but I think a bit more explanation would have made for a much more satisfying conclusion. Luckily, fans have been coming up with clearer interpretations, and here on YouTube specifically, I just caught Avenue X's final review on this drama, and I thought the way she framed and explained the ending made sense given the context, so I'll link her video in the description down below. And also, B. I wish we saw more of the leads' interactions in the real world. When they ended at the hospital scene, I was genuinely alarmed because I thought we'd have at least another 10 to 20 minutes to go. It would have just been sweet to get a glimpse of how their lives were going in this new reality of theirs. Maybe they're on set shooting the actual drama, or maybe they have some scenes where they draw parallels to their interactions in the fictional world. Anything to bring it full circle would have been nice. Although I have seen rumors of a season 2 being very possible, so hopefully some of the points I mentioned can be better addressed and expanded on there if it does happen. But above all, I'm just really excited to potentially be able to see this cast together again. Now to conclude, this is a ridiculous but fun drama with a seriously lovable pairing. It has been getting a lot of hype, but I'd still take it all with a grain of salt. Its brand of humor can sometimes lean a bit campy and absurd at times, so it might not necessarily be for everyone. Its couple flaws in storytelling, whether they may be on purpose or not, might be a slight turnoff for some. But I can happily say that I thoroughly enjoyed this show and would recommend it, especially if rom-coms are your thing. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!